Okay, so let's take a look at the four key cultural concepts of distress, four key features in relation to DSM-5, and of course, we're really talking about DSM-5 TR. So, just a reminder that throughout the book, the authors tend to use DSM-5 and DSM-5 TR interchangeably. So, um, try not to just keep that in mind or get tripped up by it. Anyway, so similar themes to the previous video you just watched, the part one of this subsection. Um, Again, these are just additional context about why we're remembering that what we're trying to do is find the best, methodically finding the best fitting criteria and the best fitting diagnosis to that combination of criteria. That's what we're trying to do. They're not perfect fits. They're not meant to be perfect fits because that's really not how humans work. Um, so that's just sort of another sort of nuance or another sort of revisit to that. So looking at 2 and 3 here, um, the now this is very much personal opinion. I think it's a reflection of what the authors are saying, but you'll have to decide that for yourself. Um, creating a diagnosis, or how these cultural concepts relate to the diagnosis, is not the primary decision point. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is is figure out how we can help people, and if they if they can benefit from our help and our care and our treatment. So the diagnosis is an important part of that, but but the diagnosis itself isn't necessarily like the ultimate, the primary point of all of this, but rather figuring out how we can best help people and engaging people in a way we're most likely to be helpful to them. All right. So the other thing is that when we talk about this concept of grief and stress, then and we do have a tendency in our culture here to pathologize um, human experience more broadly than maybe it should be. And again, it's really a matter of opinion, I suppose. What for this purposes, what you may find is that you're challenged with differentiating stress and understandable reactions to specific circumstances in the context of grief or stress or even trauma that may not necessarily be pathology or meet full or even partial criteria for a disorder. So that itself presents a challenge, because if you're working in any type of billing situation, whether you're billing public insurances or private insurances, or even working on most times if you're working in sort of a grant uh, uh, situation or pro bono situation, almost every single clinical situation, you're asked to render a diagnosis of the best fitting diagnosis. So that is a challenge. It's something we can revisit throughout the course. There are some diagnoses like adjustment disorder that kind of help us find a place to reflect, hey, um, this is really about stress reaction to circumstances around them, or reaction to grief. And of course, we have the prolonged grief disorder that's new to DSM-5 TR that we'll touch on in the course. So these diagnoses are designed to help us sort of find a codable term, putting my hand on the book here, to represent, hey, this is really about the current circumstances more than it is about an illness inside of them or even an injury that they've incurred from a trauma perspective. Okay, so and again, the on number 4, I just added, and I know I brought this up in an earlier video, that I think we also have to remember that there's broader exposure to multicultural concepts from people all over the world as the internet gets more accessible across the planet. Okay. Um, and so I'll tell you what, actually, we'll pause there and we'll just create a part 3. I told you I'll try to chop this section up a little bit.